Hey everybody, my name is Andres,
I'm Scott.
I'm Abe.
and thank you for turning in to Between Two Stands, a show that takes a closer look at the personalities that make up the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. I thought today, instead of just doing our normal prelude, we could do kind of a funny little game, which I also entitled Stump the Musie. At Rice, which we all went to school at Rice, they called the music majors musies there. So it was like an abbreviation for music, which I don't know why they had to cut off the last letter. It's not much of an abbreviation. But that being said,
Wait. You don't know why they called us that?
no, it's music, M-U-S-I.
Yeah, but the class title.
Right. But it's
M-U-S-I.
it's short for music.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But they help.
Whatever. The point is, it's MUSI. Yeah, you take like MUSI, 101, oral
theory.
skills or theory. Yeah. So anyway, Stump the Musie. I have a few questions for you guys, and just buzz in. We'll keep score, and I unfortunately don't have any prizes to give you or can't deliver them due to the code, but it'll just be bragging rights until the next episode.
So,
Sounds
Andres, you said buzz in, but we don't have buzzers. So
Okay.
what do you want us to do?
Yes. So let's be really efficient, and we'll yell out a name of a composer, and that composer is Dmitri Shostakovich.
All
So
right.
the first one to finish the name Dmitri Shostakovich,
Ooh, to finish the name.
you got to finish
Okay.
it. You can't.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Gets the buzz. Okay. Are you
Sounds good.
guys ready for Stump the Musie?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let me get my questions up here. Okay, this is the first time I'm doing this here. So, okay, here we go. Ready, set, go. Which American composer was also well known for running a successful insurance company?
Dmitri Shostakovich.
Abe?
Charles Ives.
Nice, dude.
Well done. Well done.
Nice.
I was about 20 seconds behind you. So this is going to be a good game.
All right. I
Nice.
feel better. I feel like I know something. Okay.
Nice, dude. Okay,
That might be the only one I get
for
right, but
Abe.
that's
One
fine.
for Abe. Nice job. Yeah, I thought that's kind of a cool fact about him. Apparently, he was really extremely successful. Like kind of loaded, and living in just like and then kind of composed some kind of wild pieces alongside of that. But it was kind of cool.
What's your favorite piece by Ives?
I did an all Ives concert at Tanglewood one summer, and it was actually I know what was that one with the trumpet, the
Unanswered question.
unanswered question. We did a lot of those like kind of short vignettes there, and honestly I really enjoyed them. Like they were like little tidbits of morsels of Charles Ives, and it was with Gunther Schuller actually was conducting. The late Gunther
a
Schuller.
horn player.
Horn player, exactly, with the Met and a composer. But pretty incredible concert actually. Yeah, it was. So just to let you know, the last note of the concert, I played it on a snare drum. It was a pianissimo note, and I swear that as soon as I touched that last note with the snare drum, the weather was wild outside during the concert, and all the doors on the left side of the concert hall blew open as soon as I touched it. It was one of those moments.
amazing.
Yeah, it was actually amazing. So anyway, the whole concert was pretty special, and I remembered it. So yeah, a few of those pieces, like those short pieces, I really like of his. The symphonies are wild, but they're cool.
The Second Symphony is the only symphony of his that I've ever played. And the whole thing is like a Dvorak sort of nice, easy listening thing until the last note. It was just like, like he leaned on the piano.
And he does that thing where he has like that effect where he's got two bands crossing, like the march. Have you ever heard? I don't know what piece that is.
That's Country Band March. I know exactly what you're talking
it's
about.
two.
Man, are you like a Charles Ives specialist?
No.
Hey, you got the answer. I'm the one with 0 points.
Well, so this is the funny thing, is that I know that little tidbit, but I don't think I've ever played a piece by Charles Ives.
Really?
Yeah. So aside from what I've heard at a few concerts or in, classes, I really am not too familiar with this music.
Huh?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
well, let's go to the next one here, so we can get Scott tied up,
Okay.
or possibly Abe further. Okay, next question. Oh, and you have to yell Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, ready? What young composer did Mozart meet and remark that, quote, "This young genius will astonish the world one day"?
Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov.
Abe?
Beethoven?
Yes.
I didn't know they
Yes.
met.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Dude, nice, Abe. Dude,
That would have been my guess.
I was actually starting to second guess myself, but I
you
do
stuck
remember
with
that
it. Nice.
tidbit.
I know.
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of a cool. That anecdote always kind of stuck with me. Just like young Beethoven playing for Mozart was pretty young when he died, but
Yeah.
I mean, a middle-aged Mozart, and I mean the genius in that room was just insane to think about.
Yeah, and then the fact that Beethoven also studied with Haydn, to have those three, with those kind of connections is pretty amazing.
Didn't Beethoven want to study with Mozart, but then he died before
I
that was
think
even
so.
possible?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not
Yeah, it's
surprised.
It's pretty amazing too when you think about the kinds of composers that either met or didn't meet. Like there's this anecdote about Schubert going to meet Beethoven, and he is like sitting outside his studio. I think this is just the story that I was told by my music history teacher, so don't quote me on it. But the story was that
And that music
Schubert-
history teacher's name is.
Yeah.
And so the story that he told me was that Schubert was like listening to a lesson that Beethoven was teaching, and Beethoven was screaming at a student, and he left because he didn't want to.
Wow.
He got scared or something, and he left.
Well, they all turned out just fine. We're still playing their music. All right, Abe 2, Scott 0. Come on, dude. You got to slam some coffee if you got any right now.
I tried. Oh,
Okay. Now we're good. All right. Question number 3. Oh. Johann
Are we
Sebastian
saying
Bach.
a different
You have
composer?
to yell Johann Sebastian Bach.
all right.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Go. Which composer was said to have had so many adoring fans wanting locks of his hair, he would substitute his hair for his dog's?
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Scott?
Liszt?
Yes!
Oh,
Nice,
man.
dude.
Woo!
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Apparently he was
Slow clap. Slow
apparently
clap.
he
Thank
was
you.
quite
Thank
the
you.
man. He was quite the
Oh
man.
man. Yeah. Liszt had like super fans throwing underwear at him and everything when he was playing his piano pieces.
Wouldn't that have to be like a corset in those days, or?
Yeah, whalebone like being thrown on the stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, no judgment, but the portraits of him, it's hard to imagine. He looks a little bit like the Scarecrow, but who knows? Maybe he just played the piano that well.
Yeah, that was before he met Batman.
Right? Exactly. Okay. Well, you're on the board, Scott.
Ah, thank goodness.
Nice job, Scott.
Okay. Question number 4. Name at least one famous artist who was in attendance of the premiere of Rite of Spring. Johann Sebastian Bach. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, Scott.
Do you mean in the audience?
In the
or
audience.
Do you mean?
In the audience.
Oh no.
Uh-oh, am I going to have
Wait. Loud guess. Cézanne.
to... Sanson?
Oh, I was gonna
Oh.
guess an artist, like a visual artist.
Oh.
Then I'll say Sanson.
Damn it.
2 points.
I got to work out some kinks. I got to work out some kinks as a host here, but
I was
I'll let you
thinking
have it, Scott.
Cezanne, the painter who painted the.
Yeah,
I was thinking visual artist too.
I should have. Yeah, well, there were different. There were composers. There's visual artists. But anyway, Sanson was there apparently, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, Picasso was there apparently too, which was
that makes sense.
kind of crazy. But
That's interesting.
yeah, and I don't know if for people who don't know, when they premiered The Rite of Spring, the choreography was so opposite of what normal ballet was, where it's that graceful maneuvering of the body and jumping and light movement. This was all just inward, very, very, toes pointed inward, like very aggressive choreography. And of course, the music was something that people hadn't heard of before. That there was a riot afterwards. There was actually a riot, which was, kind of amazing. 100 years ago, people were. I mean, we're still playing that now. And it's a classic, but back then people didn't like it.
I think classical music needs more riots. People need to feel that passion. And passionate about what they're hearing.
Right. Yeah, just like maybe don't burn down Orchestra Hall, but maybe take it across the street. It was interesting about Rite of Spring is not too long after its premiere that had the riots in Paris, they played it in London. Everyone was fine with it. Oh, really?
No problem.
Yeah. That's cool. I think maybe, French are passionate people, man,
I don't know why. I mean, it's just interesting to think about.
Well, just the way this worked out, maybe it's because I gave you an answer, or I'm sure you knew it, but we're all tied up. Hey, what are some of the other artists that were there? You talked about Picasso, and Picasso and Stravinsky then, I think, knew each other quite well after that. There's a portrait of Stravinsky by Picasso. Yeah, that's which famous. Is awesome. Yeah, and I think there's some photographs of them together, which is cool. But Gertrude Stein and Marcel Proust. Yeah, so sorry, it was I said artists because it was like writers, artists, music, but. Anyway, it's kind of cool to think about everyone in the same room there experiencing that. Okay, last question, guys.
How do we buzz in?
Okay, yeah, how do we buzz in? Let's think of a nice long name. What about just who's it?
What about Tchaikovsky?
Okay, Peter, the whole thing. Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Okay? Okay. Ready? Here we go. Alma Mahler, Gustav Mahler's wife, was a composer and also known for her spark and beauty. Name at least two non-composers who saw Alma Mahler as a muse besides our Gustav.
At least two?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, how about one?
Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky.
Yes, Scott.
This is a guess. I'm gonna guess Klimt.
Yes, dude. Whoa. Yes. Exactly right.
Nice, man.
They had a relationship apparently when she was pretty young, which I guess was kind of the norms for that day. But Gustav Klimt. Some other people were Franz Werfel, who's a poet. Walter Gropius, who she ended up marrying, I believe.
After Mahler died.
Yeah, and they had a kid. He was an architect, and they had a kid that actually, the kid's name is I don't know how to pronounce it, Manon Gropius, and I know Berg had like a relationship with her. Not like I don't know if it was like a intimate relationship. I just know that like Berg like cared for Manon. So anyway, just kind of interesting how many composers and artists were entwined with her. Oscar Kokoschka, And then apparently a biologist, Alma said that people who were in love with her was Paul Klammerer, who was a biologist, and then our very own Osip Gabrielovich, which I was reading about, and I'm like, I really want to look into that more because that is fascinating, you know?
We should look through the DSO archives and see if
see if there's any
info
in
on
there.
that.
Exactly.
I remember hearing at one point that she asked Dmitri Shostakovich to finish Mahler's 10th Symphony after he died and couldn't finish it. And I wonder if there was any connection there. But
that would have turned out really interesting, man.
That would be, he refused. But.
Well, Scott, you are the winner, dude. Nice job. Awesome.
It's about time I've been recognized for my greatness.
This is going to be number one on your resume, I'm sure. Winner of first Stump the Musi contest. Nice job, man. You came back.
Thanks.
Thanks for playing with us or with me, I guess.
All right, guys. Well, I guess since Scott won, I will take off and let you guys take over with Nick's interview. So I will see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks. Later, man.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
Cosmetic surgery used to be something that people would be embarrassed to speak about, but now when you mention Botox, nobody raises an eyebrow.
Thank you, Larry. Our guest today is bassist Nick Meyers. Nick was born and raised in Cadillac, Michigan. He graduated high school from Interlochen Arts Academy before going on to getting degrees from the New England Conservatory and the Juilliard School, where he won his current position with the DSO in 2017, right out of graduate school. And here's the rock star now.
Woo!
What's up, Nick?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Going pretty good. Going pretty good.
Rock star in the classical sense. Nick, so we've been starting these shows by asking our guests what music is on your stand right now.
Ooh, I don't know if it counts as music, but I've been doing some etudes, trying to shore up my posture, sit a little straighter, and just trying to keep the chops there. But artistically, a little bit of Bach, doing some Bach cello suites, which playing solos is not necessarily how you see us on stage, but it's something that we like to do in our spare time.
Well, I kind of wanted to ask you about that actually, because you said like you separate artistic Bach playing and then like etude playing and everything else. Is this like with Bach, they're the cello suites, so you play the bass. Is there something about playing the bass? Did something draw you to that instrument? Or do you feel like a little left out and not having maybe as melodic of a role, or is that not in the equation for you?
I mean, I don't know about left out. Sometimes it's nice to have a little melody, but I guess what drew me to the bass is just that when you play the double bass, you can make everybody else sound really good, and it's kind of like a little mini game that you can play with yourself, trying to make sure everything lines up, both with intonation and time. And it's almost like you can sort of almost phrase with other musicians in a way that it makes you feel like you're playing, but it always kind of surprises you depending on who you're playing with. So you've always got to stay really, really on. And of course, I just love the sound of the instrument as well.
Your instrument in particular is very cool too. Can you just give us like a brief history of that instrument?
Yeah. So I just got this bass my first year on the job. I realized I needed something a little bigger with a little more cushion and sound. So I bought an Abraham Prescott, which is an old American instrument from 1836. And it had previously been used as a jazz bass. So if you see the top of it, there's all these like thumb scratch marks on the finish right underneath the fingerboard where someone was holding on.
That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah. So I had like a whole overhaul done on it, and it's sweet. It's just a great orchestra instrument.
How common is it to have an American-made string instrument or bass specifically?
Well, I would say more common for basses, because when people were coming over, there were already all these amazing, European string instruments, Italian, English, German, etc., French, and they would fit in a ship really easily, but you couldn't really justify putting an instrument that big in the hold. So all these furniture makers, like cabinet makers, started saying like, well, I could do that, and they did. So that's why the bass making school kind of started much earlier.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that's why
so I make jokes sometimes saying like, oh, I wrestle furniture for a living, but like it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's very
That's why
primitive.
when you're starting out on bass, it sounds like you're pushing a sofa.
Oh, it's not. On good days, it still kind of sounds like that. Yeah.
So Nick, you are from Cadillac, Michigan. You went to the Interlochen Arts Academy, and now you went to New York, but those are dark days. And then you came. I'm just kidding. And then you came back, and now you're in the DSO, which is kind of everyone's dream in some way to be part of your hometown orchestra. I mean, it's so rare for that to happen. It happens occasionally, but it's rare. So, how have these Michigan stepping stones affected your musical career, and what is it like to be a part of that, hometown dream,
Well, I mean, I think you guys, especially, you went through the audition process, and you know how it goes. Just to get a job in one of these orchestras is crazy, and you need like a lot of hard work, a lot of luck, a lot of everything,
Yeah.
And so I would have gone anywhere, but it just so happened that this one worked out. And obviously there are so many positives to being back in Michigan and Detroit. So I guess addressing Interlochen, I mean, I come from northern Michigan. Let's see, is that how it looks on the camera? Yeah, like around here. That's the Michigan thing. So northern Michigan, and we didn't really have a major symphony close by. It was a long trek down to Grand Rapids, and so I didn't really study privately until I was a junior in high school, enrolling in Interlochen, just because I realized this is definitely what I needed to do. And so that was like kind of I jumped in head first. So big kudos to Interlochen for being the kind of intense place that really could catch me up. And being back in Michigan and Detroit, I mean, I didn't spend too much time down here because it's like 3.5 hours away. So we would come down for Tiger games or Pistons games and stuff like that. But we couldn't really hang out for too long. So it's like kind of like this. It was foreign to me at first, but yet I still have so much family down here that it also felt really, really welcoming. It's a strange but amazing thing for me.
That's
very cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, since last year the Detroit Symphony sort of rekindled a relationship with Interlochen and the summer programs there, and we are continuing that this year online. But you participated in some of those programs. Like, how was that for you, just returning and seeing the grounds and the everything? How was that for you?
Man, it was wild. I think it was the best week of the year for me. Just because I got to I think I had 18 of my friends and family that came to that concert, like so many people, and getting to work with the students felt it was emotional for me, just because it felt like, I've gained so much along the way from the institutions that I've attended, and for me to be able to give back in whatever way I can educationally and further that, just felt somehow really right. And being able to perform there again, and there's just the intangible, the smells and the sights and stuff, and the memories that you relive when you're on a campus like that. It just, you kind of can't replicate it. So I was obviously super bummed that this summer is not going to work out in person, but I'll still be doing some of the master classes and panels and whatever else they have me do for the virtual thing. So I'm really glad that that's still going to be here.
Yeah, it's a special place. I've only been there a couple of times, but it definitely is like a special little area of Michigan and in music. It's awesome. Yeah. So Nick, for a while you were the youngest member of this orchestra, kind of by far, and you're still the youngest tenured member of the orchestra. What was that like? How'd you handle it? Were you ever thrown in a locker and like did you ever get a swirly or anything?
Be careful what you say. We're all
It
watching.
was,
Yeah.
it was the wedgies, actually. It was
Oh, yeah.
the wedgies.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
They still haunt
everybody
my
was
dreams.
super cool. I still walk funny sometimes.
Yeah.
No, everybody was great. It was kind of like, your first year when you're on probation and you just want to make sure that you're a good fit. And so like it was a little bit nerve-wracking to be so much younger than a lot of people, but I found that like the social hang here in Detroit was really welcoming and really free, and everybody likes to just chill out before and after concerts, go out for meals, stuff like that. And in addition, there was like also like some just like interest groups and stuff. Like I ended up kind of gravitating towards this group of people that liked cycling, and I didn't even realize I liked cycling. I mean, I used City Bike in New York to commute, which is a far better experience than riding the subway. And then I bought a bike and started getting around, and it's super flat, so it's like really fun. It's not too much hard work. And I mean, Andres, you and I went up to Canada and biked, that one time. That was amazing.
And we also, remember the passport. I forgot my passport, so we ended up doubling our trip. But that's a whole other.
Okay, now here's the thing: if there was like a most likely to forget their passport, it would be you, Andres, for sure.
That was our first trip. We were all excited. We were all excited to go there. Like we were going to what's the name? Bruce's Peninsula, and we get to the border, and I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, man, but I forgot my passport in Detroit. It added like another like 2 hours to our trip. Oh man, that's rough.
Oh, did you go to the border crossing
In Port Huron? Port Huron.
Oh yeah.
So he was. Luckily, Nick was very cool and patient, but I was like, nothing we can do, man. Nothing we can do. But but luckily we've gone on trips since, so I don't think it's any hard feelings there.
I'm not holding it against you. Yeah.
I was pretty jealous of that bike trip. But so Nick, have you played with because you won your audition out of school, basically? Had you performed with many other orchestras, professional orchestras, before starting your career here? Not really.
No. I guess the one professional gig I did that was like a legit. Like I think they're Exxon, maybe they're not. It was the Santa Barbara Symphony. I flew out there and I borrowed a bass and played a Beethoven 9 show for a week, and that was great. That was super fun.
Nice place.
Yeah, nice place to spend a week. But no, this was the first one, and it was like, you kind of have to like slap yourself a little bit, like walking out on stage, and it's like gorgeous, and everyone sounds really good, and like the things that you're worried about as a student, they're just non-issues in many ways, as soon as you jump up that next level.
I know exactly what you mean. It's interesting because from my perspective, I started in the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra, and then I went to the San Antonio Symphony and the Houston Grand Opera, the Houston Ballet, all before coming here. So it's interesting how each orchestra has its culture within the musicians and who likes to hang out and what people like to do. And what you said about being drawn in and the cycling and having our meals sometimes after concerts, nice celebrations and everything. It's not like that everywhere. And it's really a special thing that we have. And it's nice to hear you talk about that in such a positive way. It's very cool. Special.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It definitely, I mean, this is my first job. I'd played in some other orchestras too, and they've been great. But it definitely is a very it feels definitely like a family here, which is unique. I think I mean, it's unique in that way. So I'm glad we weren't too hard on you, man.
I think we should have been harder.
Yeah,
That unforgiving cotton.
Right.
Well, I'll keep that in mind for the next guys that end up getting hired. Brandon's coming in the fall and.
Yeah.
Serve it to him.
So, besides me kicking your butt in Nintendo Super Smash, what are some other interests you have outside of music?
Don't even, dude.
I'll take you both on.
Man, well,
yeah.
So the Nintendo thing, that the story behind that is like I went over to Andres' place and like realized how fun that was, and then we got hit with the COVID, and it was like I need to get one of these things before.
What else is there to do?
I'll be sitting around.
Yeah.
And I ended up driving all the way up to Rochester Hills to pick it up, and then like a week later, you can't find any online, in stores. They're all gone. So that was kind of I have to thank you for that, for turning me onto that.
Dude, anytime. I should get commission from them, honestly.
Yeah, you're a Nintendo artist.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing some cycling. I mean, when the weather cooperates, it didn't get warm until pretty recently. So I've got a bit of catching up to do there. Been doing some reading. I read this book called Broke about the bankruptcy of Detroit. It was a real uplifting thing.
Wow,
but
it doesn't sound like it, but
It actually could be.
Yeah, I know. Just that description was
it was useful info that I really didn't realize. And then I read this book recently about the sinking of the Lusitania before World War I, which was super well written. It's called Dead Wake. A torpedo ship called the U-20 sent a torpedo, and it killed like over 1,000 people and ended up dragging the U.S. into the war.
Wow.
So I like nonfiction stuff like that.
Dude, Maggie, man. What about Maggie?
Oh, of course, yeah. I adopted a former racing greyhound on February 1st. So it was before any of this happened. And that's another one of those instances of like, ooh, got it right before it, became difficult. Because now all the shelters are pretty sparsely populated, which is
great.
So I've got this dog, and she's 5 years old. She's super lazy, super sweet, like the calmest, most gentle dog. If you set her loose, I mean, she runs like crazy. She's just like so fast. But most of the day, she just lays down sleeping. So
I've never seen her run. I've only seen the lazy Maggie.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll do loops in an empty lot around here because the dog park's closed at the moment. But
I do love right when you got her, or right before you got her, you were going through this like, I mean, you're young, so maybe that's like an 8th life crisis. But you were like, oh God, am I responsible enough to have this dog? Like my life's gonna change, and it was. I remember that, and it seemed like you adjusted pretty well,
Yeah.
And luckily, she's pretty low maintenance.
Very low maintenance. Yeah, I got pretty lucky there.
I do think those are the right
honestly,
questions, though. Those are the good questions to ask before something like that. If you're like, oh, I'm totally ready and haven't given it a second thought, maybe you should.
Yeah. Yeah. I figured since I was so close to work, at the time I was like, well, I can run home on break, and I can, I can be home pretty relatively quickly, just so that I can, take care of the dog and take her out and stuff like that.
Right.
Very cool. So awesome. This is a really important thing that I think a lot of people want to know about you, which is how does Right as Spring go?
Ooh. Okay, I'll do the secret knock.
You can't ask a friend. You cannot phone a friend.
Okay. When I was in undergrad, we went to this party, and it was right after the Rite of Spring performances. We had a secret knock, and it was.
Yeah, bro. That was the most percussive entry we've gotten so far.
We might as well be in the same section.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Well, we are in the back row, and Scott's an honorary back row guy.
I definitely belong not near the front.
Yeah. Well, yo, Nick, really good to see you, man, and good to catch up. And miss you, man. Much love to you.
Yeah, hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Take care. And Scotty, always good to see you.
You too. Hopefully we'll all be on a bike ride soon.
Yeah, sounds great. Later, everybody. Take care.
Adios.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching this episode of Between Two Stands. Don't forget to send us any questions that you might have at betweentwostands@gmail.com. And also,